Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well today. And today I just got back from visiting my grandfather in the care home, so I thought I would do a video talking about how to prepare people with disabilities to visit care homes, and also how my own experience went. And as a lot of you know, my grandfather is in a care home. He is someone who is living with dementia. He today turned 94 years old. He was born in 1929, and I want to talk about how someone with a disability with an autism spectrum condition, or autism spectrum disorder as many people call it, which I don't like that word, so I don't really use it, apart from in reference to how people identify. But as someone who has autism spectrum condition, I want to talk about my own experiences of how I experienced the care home and how to prepare others who may be disabled or have autism spectrum condition disorders. So yeah, the first thing I'd say is prepare the autistic person or disabled person ahead of time, because when you're talking to someone with a disability, especially autism or anything that's related, be very, very careful what you say to them. Make sure that they are prepared ahead of time. So that means downloading pictures of the care home, inside, outside of the care home, downloading pictures of the individual person's room, or at least the what they call the day room or client room or patient room, where you can sit with your family member and talk to them. Also, if you're going to be going on a certain day and a certain time, make sure you stick to that certain time, certain day, because it helps that patient in the care home, that person, that loved one who you're going to visit, have a regular routine, and then they expect you to visit at a certain day and certain time regardless every time. Also, strike up a conversation about something that they're interested in, because today my grandfather was really up for chatting, really sociable, really wants to know more about who I am and what I do. He was asking about, who I am, how old was I, what do I do for my kind of job, my interests, do I live in a downstairs or upstairs flat or apartment, as you guys call them in the States and Canada. And he also just wanted to talk to me about who I am as a person, and he was happy to post selfies with me, a 94-year-old man who has dementia. And for people who are autistic or disabled and they're visiting the care homes for the first time, it can be really, really overwhelming, especially back when we were in the lockdown procedures and the visiting hours were being lifted, etc. We had to go in there wearing masks and protective personal equipment, whereas now all that has been lifted and we no longer have to do that. But for someone who is autistic or disabled, they may find the smell, the noises of the care home quite overpowering, overstimulating. They may find the change of care is quite frustrating. They may find that their person is in bed a lot more, they're sleeping a lot more, they're spending more time in bed than they are in their chairs or in the communal day rooms that they have at most care homes, like my grandfather's care home. Also, to lower the anxiety of someone with autism or disabilities, is download all the pictures of the care home, like I said earlier. Take pictures of the car park, what it looks like, so then they know each trip they're going to be going to the same place, so it lowers the anxiety, since you're overwhelmed with the unexpected, because obviously each time you will visit your loved one in that care home, their progression may be getting worse with their dementia or any form of Alzheimer's or cancer or anything they may have while they are in a care home being cared for by professionals. Also, what I would say is keep the conversations quite brief. Don't tend to extend them, or don't try and make a huge effort, because a lot of them will be physically and mentally tired. A lot of them will forget what they're saying to you when they've said it to you, and it can be quite upsetting when you're trying to strike up that balance with what to say to them, how to say it to them, and it can be quite upsetting, overwhelming to having to repeat yourself. Also, give yourself time to talk to them. Don't rush the conversation. Don't try and overpower them. Also, don't worry if you feel that you're talking to them like a child, because a lot of people in that age gap will be talking to you like a child. They will be like, oh, so what's my name? And, today my grandfather was like, how old am I, Gemma? How old am I, Gemma? When was I born, Gemma? He kept asking me the same questions. He kept asking me about my flat, how long have I been here, how old am I? I had to explain to him I'm nearly 35, I had to explain to him I'm autistic and what does that mean and everything else. And then he was asking me about why is he so old, and he kept trying to recap certain war stories to me in certain situations. So again, be very productive ahead of time. Make sure you research the care home, make sure you give your autistic or disabled loved one a backstory, so they know what's happening, what to expect when they enter that care home, because it can be really overdaunting, overstimulating, because if you don't know about dementia or any of the illnesses that your loved one may have, your friend may have, like, you kind of need to do a bit more research about what a care home is, what they do, and how they care for patients, because obviously it is quite personal one-on-one care, etc. So, you have to be prepared to see your loved one in not the most highly suitable state, or non-communicative state, or they may be completely non-verbal altogether, to the point where they just make sounds. Like my granddad's starting to do noises like kind of like the kind of little basic noises, and it is hard, because when you're not used to that and you're having to walk into that environment and see your loved one kind of not being themselves and knowing that the illness is slowly taking over them, it can be a really scary process for you guys to get used to. And when you're having to sign in a care home on the computer screen, you're having to type your name, date of birth in, and who you're visiting and why, and it can be really overstimulating, having to use so much mental, physical process to visit someone in a care home. It can be quite overstimulating and anxiety provoking, quite stressful, especially when the person changes each time that you go there, and they look different, they're acting different, they're eating different, and they are not being the same person that you remember them for being previously, before the illness and before they moved into the care home situation. Also, be prepared to hear noises like machines and other residents who live in the same facility. You may hear them talking, shouting, screaming, yelling, crying, because obviously they're frustrated, they're confused, they don't know what's going on in the world around them. So again, that may be something to take into account if not used to a care home or pensioners home or nursing home facility, like old people's home, nursing home, dementia home, etc. Also, be prepared to smell different kinds of foods, and be prepared to have other different people there. There may be other visitors in the building the same time as you, so it may be quite noisy, it may be quite busy from time to time when you go to visit your loved one in that care home, so take that under advisement as well. Also, if you are going to a care home, make sure you're aware of the visiting hours and the rules of what time you can and can't visit, because there is certain strict times that they don't want visitors, obviously like meal times or times they're going to the bathroom, except they call them protected meal times. So make sure you are aware of the protected meal times ahead of time, because there's been a couple of times where we've turned up and he's eating, or he's just eaten, or he's not wanting to have visitors. So make sure you do take that into consideration as well. Travel time will be another one, because if you're visiting a loved one in a care home who is very, very vulnerable or very limited in their communication, make sure you research what time to see them, and make sure you research when is the best time for you to be active with them. Also, what I want to say is make sure that you get to know the carers who are caring for your loved one, because you can build up a professional rapport and a relationship, a friendship with them, because it is important to their everyday crucial care. Especially like today, my granddad had a card from the carers at the care home. They're very much affectionate towards him, they're very professional, they're very friendly to him, and that made you say, like, seeing that card from them, seeing the cards from his family, like me, my dad, my sister's partner, my nephew, my aunt, my uncle, my cousins, like, we all chipped in and give him some cards and presents. And he's 94 years old, so he doesn't really understand that he has dementia. He doesn't really know that he's ill or whatnot. And it is sad, because obviously it's progressing and his memory is not as sharp as it used to be some years ago. But yeah, I just want to give you some tips and tricks, my own experiences of visiting a care home. It's not the most greatest place to be in, to be fair. It is very overstimulating. It's very warm in there. As you can probably tell, I'm very hot, because the temperature in that care home is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it is good to see your loved ones in a care home. It is normal to visit them. It is a normal place to go and visit. But if you are not sure if you're going to be able to cope with it, I would just think about your personal boundaries, your sensitivities to how you see the world, and, do as much research and backup as you can. Spend time with your loved ones before they get into the care home. But if you are going to be going into a care home facility, make sure you understand what it's like to go into that kind of facility. Make sure that you're ready to go into that facility, because it takes a really strong stomach for someone to go into a care home facility. And yeah, I just thought I would talk about, because as someone who has obviously a relative in a care home situation, it is really powerful to share my experiences, and hopefully I've helped somewhat explain what the care home's like, and I shall see you soon. Bye guys.